Alright, well, welcome to Game 1 of a Round 2 matchup between our top-seeded DeathTacticus and ichbineinkonto. For real this time, we are on Mars by DT's choice. And I'm still Blues here with NC Game Wizard.
Hello. Alright,
A
so
lot of halved prices this time, except for fuel, iron, and electronics, all starting expensive, again pushing you away from that nomad.
yeah, this map looking generally pretty barren. I might be looking at an expansive right next to the water patch on the iron to the right. Might have to ship your iron from the two mediums, but you could probably make it work. DT going for an early scavenger, picking up 34,000 in debt.
Has some nice carbon to work with. We'll have to worry about nukes, but yeah, definitely seeing where Kanto is not in love with this found. Founding in the middle of all of this stuff is a little interesting to me.
He crushed some iron to do it. So I see what the thinking was. The price on iron was $40 a unit, but
it does help him get off to a bit of a faster start. Just definitely something that makes me very nervous with nukes on the market and every single iron tile being medium.
So I think Ichbin's problem here is going to be power generation. He's got a really fantastic wind spot, but no carbon. He's got one geothermal nearby, but really can't make enough steel.
Luckily for him, this is a game where power started at a normal price, and it is also a game where I don't think the colony will ever expand into offices, so it should stay low for a while. It should be something that he can survive until he finds it.
No, he's up at level 2. Time to get into that steel. He is taking tiles that he can later repurpose into wind turbines versus tiles where he could be having a triangle, though he decided he doesn't want them, and now he wants the triangle. Okay.
Don't really love the placement on that triangle, though. It does mean that he's kind of squeezed for space. Placing it right in the middle rather than the edge means he can't fit in a second triangle without leaving things
I see exactly what you're talking about.
And in the meantime, DT has already gotten up to HQ3. Putting down some more water, putting down some electronics is interesting. Colony consuming a little bit of electronics starting expensive, and there weren't really very many other options.
He's got easy silicon, he's got the carbon, the price on aluminum is really not expensive enough to hit him on his upgrades. He can probably afford this, and it's definitely better than either carbon or other than chemicals or glass, so I can see the thinking behind it. It's probably financially his best move.
Yeah,
Plus it only costs carbon to put them up, and that's pretty cheap for him as a scavenger.
Definitely reasonable. I think there is some small argument for looking at food or chems instead, even. Because there is slightly more demand.
This is more of an old school play. A lot of old school 1v1s prior to Ceres and IO involved just mutinying, pirating, anything you could do to take your opponent's aluminum away. I don't know if financially the market makes this the best move, but it'll be interesting to see if Ichbin decides to start buying up aluminum, trying to punish that electronics production.
Right, definitely would be a good option there. Not only does DT need it for his electronics, he also just doesn't have any stockpile ready for his upgrade, and that would be a big deal. Although DT just takes it back, not a big deal. Just a little bit of wasted money.
So that was a natural auction on a geothermal plant. Ichbin already into 2 geothermal plants. Well, into a second one right now, got one up. So
thing is, power's price is still low enough that it's very unlikely that Kanto will make his way to power money. He probably should not even build the second geothermal, because it's just going to set him back on from the upgrade so much. Already behind.
That's what I'm thinking. Level 4 to level 2 expansive scavenger is just not where you want to be. This is pretty much a scavenger's ideal. You had to describe how you would like to win as a scavenger against an expansive. It would pretty much be, I want to upgrade first, I want to be the first one into those markets. I want to be making life support resources while he's still consuming them, but not able to meet that demand.
Okay. Another thing that's been going on this game, Kanto auto-selling water, definitely really subsidizing DT here. Just a lot, keeping that price a lot lower than it needs to be when DT is the only one consuming large amounts of water. And it also means that Kanto doesn't have a stockpile of water ready for this farm transition.
And that's a real problem when you're behind, because the issue is DeathTacticus can turn off some of his water production and he can make money in water. So if water gets expensive because ichbin is buying it up in order to run these farms, which ichbin currently has to do, that's okay for DeathTacticus. He can still extract money from the market, but the same is not the case for ichbin when he was at level 2. At level 3, you can see he's opting for a little bit more water because he realizes this is a potential weakness.
Right. The other problem with not stockpiling the water is that it leaves Kanto just that much more vulnerable to a nuke right onto that medium.
Yeah. It is a really rough spot for an expansive when you don't even have the better water patch.
Right, which is a lot of why we were talking about bounds directly adjacent to the water. You can just claim a lot of those water tiles up. As they get nuked out, you can swap into different ones, and you're a bit protected from all of that. It is at least the case that Kanto has been doing a good job of keeping the aggression on. The constant mutinies on this aluminum and these freezes have kept him from being in a huge money deficit, at least, even if he is still significantly behind.
Tough for me to say this core sample could benefit Kanto as much as it could benefit. ET can use it to get more carbon, can get out of carbon scrubbing right now if he really wants to. Instead, just drop down another carbon quarry and then maybe go for something else.
Right.
There's plenty of options.
There's not all that much the core sample does for DT right now, but it's just really excellent insurance for him going forward.
If you're putting up the price for carbon scrubbing, you can definitely afford virtual reality. He's already got the pleasure dome up. I mean, that alone would just be straight money.
$153. There is just a nice solid pleasure dome on Mars with these prices. One thing should note earlier, while Kanto was chain mutinying this aluminum, DT had opted to skip one of his cooldowns for aggression, instead picking up a mule, muling off this medium aluminum. That let him keep moving forward with these upgrades without putting too much money into Kanto's pocket, or having to just spend more and more money after there.
Kanto pushing for teleportation, but it's really hard for me to say that that's going to pay off. Really only giving him better fuel access and access to maybe 2 tiles to produce with, but he needs those 2 tiles for life support. Or you lose the iron mines, but he needs those for steel, so...
Right. In some sense, it makes him a little less vulnerable to nukes because those tiles become a little more useful.
Good with the price on fuel as it currently stands. It's definitely a great decision.
Well, some of that price is definitely fake. DT with a nice stockpile buying into the shortage. A bit curious why he's still auto-selling the fuel and why he sold down quite that much instead of just sticking in it. Maybe just a bit nervous Kanto would have some fuel. Although there's
probably keeping it around to produce for chems.
Yeah.
I had to guess. That'd be the thinking.
Still just feels like a bit of a mistake there, although ends up being fine. Just another random shortage there.
Hack's coming in for DT like he has a hacker array, which he does now, but he didn't a few seconds ago when all this happened.
It is interesting placement to me. I guess food has fallen off a bit as a market, though and I guess also Kanto is competing in that market, so he doesn't necessarily need a third farm. Just a bit awkward to be stuck in a place where you only have the pair there, and he's not going to have a good way to fix that issue.
I was about to say I would maybe for 28,000 let Kanto have it. I would definitely let him have it for the 36, and 40 is just... I don't like it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a...
again, auto-selling the chems while the chems were shorting. And it's like, if you really wanted to adrenaline boost anything right now, it would be those chems.
Right. One thing we can say about all this, though, DT is very solid. They had up 1 HQ level, up a lot of cash and threaten the majority buyout right now. And Kanto
probably would have it if he had just let his opponent get another 38,000 in debt.
Right. I mean, the adrenaline boost also does do a lot to help with either player pushing towards that goal. So it's not necessarily a bad decision, though if DT is going to just keep pushing ahead with these advanced building placements, with these patents, it's not working together with his goal. This little no in chat, I have to assume, has to do with his optimization center finishing. I assume he went to cancel it. He has deleted it already, and he is going for the buy.
Yeah, Kanto did not opt to pick up any carbon, now transitioning into some carbon-consuming industries, so that's a problem. But worse yet, DT is going for a carbon short. He has recognized that this is a huge weakness in his opponent.
Right.
Now, all of these buildings that are coming down that are going to consume carbon, they're not going to like their life here very shortly, assuming Kanto doesn't just lose.
Right. It's not going to matter. He's going to lose before that happens. DT also just never having to use his adrenaline boost for all that. I don't think it would have made a difference if Kanto picked it up. I don't think he was going to make enough money off of it regardless. But still just another tool DT had in his pocket to seal things.
Yep. That's pretty much textbook what you want to do as a scavenger. Maybe not be in D-level debt weapons, but you can't have everything in off-world, and it's a fantastic win regardless.
Definitely very well done. Identifying and picking up a good spot for a reasonable amount of debt, just continuing to push forward faster and faster than his opponent could, and just having answers for all the aggression thrown
I'm
at him.
imagining that Kanto was relying on getting this carbon patch that DT ended up picking up because it took him a little bit longer to find a found. Like, once DT was down, he already made it up to level 2, I think, before Kanto was even down, just because Kanto didn't quite have a second spot prepared.